Hey there, this is Andy C from Pieces of 8-Bit. Welcome to a very warm office. It is gorgeous outside and it is brutally warm in here, but I am not complaining because it is absolutely lovely. So yes, welcome to my channel. This week we're going to be talking about some BBC Micro games. So this may not seem too familiar for my friends on the other side of the pond out in the US, but the BBC Micro is somewhat of a sort of educational phenomenon from the early 80s, and for those of you who watch my channel, you'll know that I'm reviewing it as part of my monthly series. It is in fact sitting behind me just here. That's this rather interesting looking machine with the red function keys, which I think looks quite cool. I don't think there's any other machines that I know that look quite like it, but I will be talking about this 8-bit wonder at the end of the month, talking about the specifications, how it came to be, the history, and also talking to you a little bit about what I've been playing. Some of those games that I've been playing, I'm going to be talking to you about today. So what I'm going to do is show you some gameplay footage where I've been playing through the games, and I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the history. So if you're interested in getting back into BBC Micro, these are a few games that you might want to try. And I'm hoping as well, for those of you that played on the BBC or interacted with the BBC back in the day, that this might trigger a few pleasant memories for you and make you go and have a look at the games themselves. So what I'm going to do, like I say, I'm going to talk through the gameplay whilst the games, I'm doing a bit of a voiceover while the games are playing, tell you a little bit about the history of the games, why I've picked them, and obviously, you know, you can then go and have a look at them for yourselves. So those three games are, well, they are basically, as a game you will have heard of, most certainly if you're in the UK, an 8-bit absolute classic game, one that you probably will have heard of. More of the die-hard fans will definitely have heard of this. Some of you may or may not have heard of it. And the third one is one that you may not have heard of, which is something that yeah, we played in school. So the first of those games is Chuckie Egg from 1983, an absolutely classic platformer game, 8-bit game, really well-known game, and one of the first games I played on the BBC. A game called Repton, which again is another absolute classic, probably a little less known than Chuckie Egg, certainly outside of the UK, but a well-loved classic nonetheless. And then the third one, which is slightly more obscure, is a game called Scoop, which is a game that I played at school, in fact, and is largely considered to be an educational game. And as we play the game, I'll explain a little bit why I've picked it. I imagine that for most of you, you're probably scratching your heads and going, I have no idea what that is. So all will be revealed. Let's dive straight into the gameplay right now, and I will talk through my games. I'm not going to talk for ages on each one. I'm just going to give you the hard facts, show you a little tiny bit of the gameplay. I'm sure there are some videos out there on the web where you can get a much better gameplay than what I'm going to show you, but just try and jog that memory. Encourage you to go out and have a look. So let's dive straight in. Alright, here we go then. So this is Chuckie Egg. I'm using the B2 emulator to record this. I mentioned this before. So you're going to just download the games and then load the disk images up. Very easy to use, nice straightforward emulator, obviously easier to capture this than it is actually to plug the BBC in. So here we go then. This is Chuckie Egg. Now this is a real favourite of mine. This is a game I played back in, well, I guess mid-80s. It came out in 1983. It came out on the ZX Spectrum, but was ported to the BBC Micro, Acorn Electron, Commodore 64, Amstrad CPC, so on and so forth. The guy that wrote the game was just 17 years old, a chap called Nigel Alderton, and it was published by A&F Software. It's a platformer, and the objective of the game is to collect all of the eggs on each level whilst avoiding the hens and the giant duck in the top left-hand corner, as you will see. It's quite fast-paced, there's lots of jumping and climbing, and you are in control of Henhouse Harry. So essentially what you've got to do is avoid running into the moving hens, and after 8 levels, that giant caged duck will be released and it will chase me. So it's for a game of its age, it's very playable. It's very smooth, got responsive controls. You've got gravity affected jumps and falling platforms, but it's you know, very simple 2D, and you can see nice bright colours in there. Really, really great little bit of 8-bit gaming there. Spawned a sequel, Chuckie Egg 2, which came out in 1985, which was a little bit more puzzle oriented. Not a game I've really played all that much. Yeah, it's a game that is still well loved to this day, still very playable, and yeah, played on emulators and a lot of homebrew ports. And this is obviously the BBC Micro version. So you can see me having a run around here. Use spacebar to jump, and the controls are pretty straightforward, just using the keys here. As you can see the little golden eggs that I'm collecting. The birds will pause and eat those seeds. So generally speaking, as the levels go on, you can just sort of avoid picking those up. This is quite straightforward, this level here. The only thing with it really that is a little bit irritating is that you have to be very precise with the ladder. So if you want to sort of get off the ladder kind of halfway up a level, then you'll need to be quite accurate. Also, to go up the ladders in the first place, you need to be exactly accurate with where they are. But the more you play it, the sort of more you kind of get the hang of it. You can see here I'm obviously on level 2. This level's quite straightforward as well. The first couple of levels are quite easy. So yeah, let's just have a watch of me play this. I did this level quite quickly, if I remember rightly. You just got to be a little bit canny. You don't really know where the hens are going to go. So we're just going to sit and wait here whilst that hen there, while she goes back down the ladder. Yeah, you can see just a little bit of a fiddle to try and get off the ladders at the right place. We'll just carry on watching this level until I get to the next one. I'll show you one of the things that's quite weird about it, and then we'll move on to our next game. Definitely worth playing. It's a game that is really, really good fun. I like it. It's a nice, really simple idea, very much in the sort of vein of, you know, the sort of Donkey Kong, the original Donkey Kong Mario games back in the day. There we go. I'm going to do the scan. Yes, there we go. And there we go. That's level 2. Nice and straightforward. Now, this level's quite amusing. So, yeah, a little bit of a glitch on this level here when I tried to get on the lift here. Oh, whoops. Oh dear. Now I seem to be falling for infinity. That was my own mistake. I'm not quite sure what to do here. I did manage to recover, and then I did it about 2 or 3 more times. I completely forgot about this, but yeah, the reason I picked this game just before we wrap up was this is a very early gaming memory for me. Not a game I played at school, I might add, but it is a game that I played around a friend's house. He had a BBC Micro, which, to be honest with you, I thought was pretty impressive, because other games, other consoles at the time, things like the Spectrum and stuff like that, were tape loading. The nice thing about this particular platform was it was disc loading. So he had a floppy disk drive that was state of the art. And I remember playing Chuckie Egg on there as one of the first games that I played on the BBC Micro, not at school. So for those of you who don't know, the BBC Micro was very much an educational machine. It was developed with Acorn computers and BBC, as in the BBC that you know, the British Broadcasting Corporation, the same one that does Planet Earth and all of those sorts of things. For those of you overseas, everybody knows the BBC. They had this joint venture with Acorn computers, basically to bring computing into schools. It was very early computing literacy thing, and so that's where we saw them. So you didn't really see them as gaming machines very often, and it's why people don't tend to talk about them all that much. But this, yes, in particular, was one of the very first games that I played on a BBC Micro, and I'd been playing on other platforms at this point. I don't know why I didn't die there. Most mysterious. And there we go, stuck in the lift again, and this time I got caught by the duck. So there you go. That's Chuckie Egg. That was the first of my games my game picks for the BBC Micro. Definitely go check this one out. This is a die-hard 8-bit classic and still very playable today, providing that you don't keep falling and going in this weird sort of infinite drop. Didn't die on the duck that time. I don't know if I managed to recover this or whether I just gave up recording at that point. But yeah, let's move on to our next game, which is called Repton. Okay, so this is Repton by Superior Software. I don't know what a Zapped game is. I didn't bother to go and find out. I probably should have done. But this is probably a less well-known game than Chuckie Egg, but there were a number of sequels to this. I actually own a boxed version of this as well, on 5¼ floppy disk actually. First released in 1985, this game was originally developed for the BBC Micro and the Acorn Electron. Created by Tim Tyler and published by Superior Software, as I mentioned before. And it's a puzzle game, essentially, where you're going to navigate a maze and you're going to collect diamonds, avoiding falling rocks and dealing with any enemies that you spot along the way. It's quite often compared to the game Boulder Dash, but it has its own sort of unique style and mechanics, and very popular in the UK in the 1980s, although not a game I necessarily played that much. It was certainly not particularly on my radar. I played games that were very similar. There were some sequels, Repton 2 and 3, and a series of level editors and add-on map packs as well. And it's been re-released and remade for various platforms, including Windows and iOS, and it's preserved that sort of look and feel about it. It's unlike Boulder Dash, Repton levels are often more puzzle oriented, and they do require a certain amount of planning and quite quick reflexes, as you will see as I'm playing this. Culturally, this is considered an absolute classic in British video gaming history, and it really did sort of help define the puzzle genre on some early home computers. There were a couple of games, similar sort of puzzle games that I played. If any of you watched my month with ZX Spectrum or the Spectrum, there was a game I played on there which was like a sort of snake game, which was quite a good puzzle game. But I like the simplicity of these, and the nice thing about these sort of 8-bit puzzle games is that they remain very playable today. You know, the graphics don't really matter. It's more about that sort of puzzle solving element. So let's look at the gameplay a little bit here. You can see that as I move around, I can kind of see where I've been already, by virtue of the sort of, obviously the red gets removed and becomes black, so it's quite helpful to see where I've been. And you can see those boulders that fall down, so you have to be quite quick if you run under boulders. And obviously, because it's a puzzle game, what you want to do is make sure that you don't end up trapping yourself. There's a limited amount of time that you've got to play the game, as you can see. And I'm going to collect all those diamonds now. I think it was that point that I realised there was a diamond up there that I hadn't already got, which I'm going to have to come back to. And yeah, as you'll see soon, that becomes problematic. You have got the option to kind of reset yourself if it's all gone wrong. The nice thing is, there's no game save, but you get passwords on this, which is quite good. And you can see that rather loud flashing there that's happening. That is me running out of time. So I'm about to lose a life. There we go, out of time. It's going to take me back to the load screen again. But the nice thing is, if I go back in again, I love how it's got a password for the first screen. It's going to take me back there, so I don't have to go through the whole thing again, which is quite handy. Question is, where is that diamond? I couldn't find it. I couldn't remember where I'd seen it, and I think there was only one or two left at this point, which was quite irritating. So you can get yourself kind of stuck quite easily if you're not careful, and then obviously you're just going to run out of time. Yeah, he's quite a fun little character, isn't he? He's like a little sort of alien type dude there. Where is that diamond? Let's keep looking around. Be careful not to nudge those boulders, and you'll see what happens if you do in a bit. Well, you've seen them already drop down. Yeah, so why did I pick this game? Well, we're trying to find this last diamond here before we move on to the second level. The reason I picked this game is because if you go out onto any forum on the internet and you ask for what are some of the best games on the BBC Micro, this game often features. Chuckie Egg is in there as well. Yeah, this is one of those ones that often features, so it felt like I needed to give it a revisit. I'm pretty sure I played it back in the day. There we go, found it, finally. Got it. Password there for the next level, Chameleon, which is a bit of a clue. So let's play through this a little bit, and then we'll move on to our next game, and I'll show you. Obviously, we just had the boulders in the last one. You can see they're quite treacherous. If you're underneath, there we go. There's like an egg thing there. So what does that do? Not sure. That's gone down the bottom. I know what's happened. There we go. That's what happened. Chameleon ran all the way down to the bottom of the screen and then ran back really, really fast and killed me immediately. he's not all that smart. You can see he's sort of tracking where I am, so just be a little bit careful. Again, it enters that sort of puzzle element there, and yeah, it wasn't quick enough there, and I died. So there we go. Let's have a look at Scoop. So here we go. This is Scoop, and this is a bit of a wild card choice for me, and I will explain myself in a moment. So usually this is by British Telecom, and you can see computers in the curriculum, so already you can see that this is probably educational. Christina Preston and Phil Wood, the author and programmer. And yeah, let's just read this. So you're a journalist working for a national daily paper called the Daily Gazette. Like all journalists, I didn't have time to read it. So basically what it is, I've got to, there's a scoop. There's someone in town that's very famous, and I need to go and basically get the scoop on this particular famous person. So it's one of those sort of type along adventures, you know, where you just use verbs to have a look around. And this is an educational game. The reason I picked this game is because it is a game that I played at school. So one of the things that was really cool about the BBC Micro, one of the fondest memories I have, was most schools back in the 80s would only have one computer, and so you always knew it was a good day if the computer, you went out for break and you came back, and outside your classroom on a trolley was the BBC with its wonderful cub monitor on the top and those fantastic red and black keys. You knew that you would be getting a partner, and you would be going out of the classroom, and you would probably have half an hour to do something educational on the computer. Most of the time, if I'm completely honest with you, most of the games or things that we did on there were pretty boring. We did little bits of programming. We played things like, you know, would tell us like what capitals, you know, we'd do like a capital city quiz or something else like this. This game, however, was the one that we always asked to play. This was Scoop, because it was kind of cool. You know, graphically at the time, you know, like sort of these little 3D graphical images looked really, really cool to us. I mean, obviously these days, you know, it's two colours, blue and black, and you know, it's not that great. But from the standpoint of someone who's sort of 8-9 years old, this was cool, and it meant half an hour of not being in the classroom. It meant half an hour of playing on a computer while you were at school, and that was legit, which was great. So you can see here that the purpose of this is, you know, we're having a look around and we've got some messages. The nice thing about playing this on a modern computer is on my other screen I've got all the commands as well, which helps it go a little bit quicker, because while you're trying to remember what all the commands were and you're sort of typing things in and you go, I can't do that and I don't know how to do that, you were like, oh, can I look at something? Can I pick something up? These were always frustrating, these sort of these text adventures, but you know, like I'm trying to remember what all the commands were. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. Once you got the hang of it, it was kind of cool. So yeah, we're gonna have a look and see what we're doing here. So at the moment, I'm in my apartment, my flat, and I'm just having a look to see what I've got, and then I think I'm going to be heading into the office. So I think it says go where? Yeah, go to the office, and I'm going to go in my car. I can't remember what the other transport options were. Yeah, I think you could probably go on the bus and take a bit longer. I'm not sure what the advantages to that were. I can have a look around, so I can talk to the journalist. I can have a look at my fax machine. There's loads of things in here as well that you know, there's loads of references to things that were like, you know, pretty cool modern things in the 1980s. So a telex, for instance. So we've got a pager, a fax machine. So for anybody under the age of about 40, you're going to be going, I don't know what half of that stuff is. It's been, yes, this morning a picture has been sent facsimile, saying too hot here, I want to come home. So what we're going to do, have a look at examine fax machine, and it's just going to tell me it's turned on, I think. Yeah, I don't think I have a number for the fax. And you'll notice in the top right hand corner as well that all the time I've got this timer clicking down. So if I don't complete my mission, my assignment by the end of the day, I run out of time. And I can imagine as well, as a sort of 8 or 9-year-old playing this back in what would have been 1986, I probably would have taken ages to type this stuff in, because I wouldn't have really used a computer before, and I wouldn't have really used a keyboard. And so all of this was ways of helping us with computer literacy right back in the early 80s. And I have a huge amount of respect for Acorn and the BBC for really introducing an entire generation to computers. And, you know, this stuff was kind of fun. You know, it was better than sitting in class and listening to your teacher. So yes, I've been trying to remember the number here. Use phone. I have to be in the office to use the phone, or if I'm anywhere outside, I have to make sure that I've got some money for the phone, because I didn't have a mobile phone because it was the mid-80s and I didn't even know what that was yet. Memo. Drop everything. Priority assignment. Get an interview. Go to the airport. That's what I did. I went to the airport, I think. You can see it as well. It's sort of, I mean, it could load a lot quicker, but the emulator does seem to load things in the same the same speed that it loaded everything else at back then as well. No, I'm still not gone to the airport. Go to the airport. Let's look at the time. It's 10 past 11. 10 past 11? 11 minutes past 9. Oh yeah, I turned the computer on, then I got stuck, I think. Yeah, I seem to remember as well, this all asked for Prestel, and I think it was like an early internet thing. I think it was actually an actual thing. And clearly I needed passwords, which I don't have at this point. Here we go, logs into Prestel. I think this was very much a BBC thing. There you go. Okay, anyway. You get the idea. So that is Scoop from 1986. Interestingly, it is probably one of the few games that you're going to find that simulates the life of a local journalist. It's quite niche. And it has become somewhat of a cult favourite among BBC Micro fans, mainly because of its originality and obviously its educational themes. I think it's quite fun. I think it's quite a fun little game. Good little sort of puzzle game to play. And yeah, that's it. So here we go. We're going to go to the airport now, and then we'll see the airport, and then we'll leave it there and we'll wrap up. There we go. That's the airport. That is Scoop. Let's go back and talk about these games. Welcome back. There you go. Those were my 3 picks for some BBC Micro games for you to go and have a look at. So that was Chuckie Egg from 1983. Repton from 1985 and Scoop from 1986, my educational wildcard pick. So, what did I think of all of those games? Well, I think they're great. I think, you know, that's why I picked them, right? I loved Repton. I love Chuckie Egg. You know, Chuckie Egg has some fond memories for me as well. I think it's a great game. You know, the fact that it was written by a young lad of age sort of 16, 17 years old, I think is incredible. I think, you know, and that was the beauty of software and gaming back in the 80s, was that it was very accessible. You know, you could, you know, if you knew a little bit of BASIC, which was, you know, by definition basic and easy to learn. You know, myself, I learned a little bit of BASIC, and I started on the BBC Micro and on the Dragon 32 back in the 80s. You could build a little game. You know, something like Repton, I did a very, very simple version of that. Nothing like it, anything like as complicated, largely copied out of a manual at the time. But you know, you could start with a game like that and build stuff up pretty quickly. So it was kind of cool, and the limited resources meant that the concepts of those games, you had to really think about the actual gameplay. You couldn't rely on the graphics and the sounds to make it a better, more enhanced experience. So what's my favourite out of those 3? Well, Chuckie Egg is my favourite out of those 3. That's easy. It's one of my favourite games on the BBC and has such fond memories for me. I love Repton. I love the idea, the puzzle sort of nature of the game as well. I think it's really, really cool. So really enjoy those 2 games. Scoop obviously is a bit of a wild card. It's a bit of an unusual choice, but I think it's actually a really good game. It's quite unique. The text adventure style approach is something that I really like, and there are obviously thousands of games out there like that, with that sort of style of gameplay, but obviously graphically as well. You've got some graphics in there. To me, as an 8 or 9 year old playing that game back in the mid 80s. That would have been a new game as well, incidentally, because I was thinking about this, about when I would have played on it. It came out in 1986. I'm pretty sure that was around the time that I played it. So the school would have not only bought a computer, which would have been stupendously expensive for them at the time, but it had modern software on it as well, which was pretty cool. So I really enjoyed that. It has happy memories because of what it represents, that early involvement in computing and that early computer literacy thing that really has kind of, that was the, little did I know at the time, at the foundations of my career, my life. And all of this stuff that I talk about here is all really down to those early days of getting into computing. So I love that. But actually, I think it's actually quite a cool little game. I think it's a fun little game. You should definitely go check it out. You will find Repton and Chuckie Egg on Abandonware if you want to go and check those out. Obviously, you can use the B2 emulator to play them if you don't have a BBC B to play on, as like I do. Scoop is a little harder to find. I think it's on the internet. It's in the Internet Archive somewhere, I think, as well. You can go find that on there and have a little bit of a play with it. It's funny to see a game produced by somebody like British Telecom, who, for those of you who aren't aware, that's BT, and for those of you outside the UK, that's like, the UK is probably the largest, but they were a government company back in the 1980s, providing all of our mobile phones, not mobile phones, what am I talking about? No mobile phones, all of our telephone network infrastructure and communications network infrastructure. So yeah, unusual to see them making a game back then. So yeah, that's it then. So some games to go check out if you're interested in getting back into BBCB. Obviously I will be talking more about that soon. So let's just dive into now and next. So coming up, I've got finally I have managed to lay my hands, at least I hope I've managed to lay my hands, if it turns up, should turn up, on a Master System 1. I've been coveting one for ages. For those of you who know me, I have a Master System 2. I did a month with my Master System 2 a while ago. Maybe it's an excuse to do a month with, even though it'll essentially be the same. But I have found a Master System 1, which is on its way to me, hopefully tomorrow or the day after as I'm recording this. Yeah, I have got an interesting feature. I was waiting for it to come before I did a feature. I'm going to be doing something with Oliver on our sort of top picks of best looking consoles. So little substance in that, but I thought it'd be quite a fun exercise. And I wanted to make sure that I got all of the things that I wanted to talk about. And I'm not going to say any more than that because there'll be spoilers and then you won't need to watch it. Obviously, yes, I will also be doing the BBC Month With review. It's been a bit of a mixed bag, I'm going to say that up front. So yeah, I'll be obviously talking about that when I get to it. Obviously I've been playing these great games today for us to look at, and I'll obviously be announcing next month's console. And then separate to all of that, so as I'm recording this, I've got about a week to go before I go on my 80-mile hike around Devon for Tarka Trail. So I'm going to be doing that walk with a good friend of mine over 4.5 days. And I am raising money for the Cornwall Prostate Cancer Support Association. Essentially, that is a charity very close to my heart. It's a very small charity, so any money that they get is huge for them, and yes, it's a charity very close to my heart, helping men and their families through through prostate cancer, and those support groups are so important to helping people get through what is an incredibly scary time. So if you are able to, please do donate. Obviously you don't have to, of course. I am just appealing for any kind of anything at all, anything however small would be much appreciated. I'll put my Just Giving link in the description, and I shall talk about it no more until I'm back, and then I might talk a little bit about how absolutely knackered I am. So yeah, I've talked for long enough. So if you enjoy watching these, I didn't say it last week actually, please do hit that like and subscribe button. Also go check out my road trip video. So I was down in London last week. Oh, well, it's been couple of weeks, I suppose, as I'm talking to you now, almost. And I went and checked out Power Up down at the Science Museum, which was an amazing, amazing event. And if you're into your retro gaming, which I'm sure you are if you're watching this video, it is an event that you absolutely must check out. If you're in the UK and you're in London, go to the Science Museum, check it out. Science Museum is free. Power Up was only £12 for as long as you want, with 160 consoles in there. If you're in the UK and you're looking for something to do over a weekend, honestly, definitely recommend getting down to London to have a look at that. Also checked out a retro arcade as well while we were there called Four Thieves, which was kind of fun too. So please go check out my video there. But that's it for today. So I will be back with you very, very shortly with our monthly lap time challenge. Please do hit that like and subscribe button, as I say. Until the next time, please do take care of yourselves. I'll see you around. Bye for now.